So, you want to go to school, but you're not sure if Biden or the next president will forgive your student loan if you have to go into debt. Well, if so, then sit back, relax, while I lay out simple 5 steps that you can use right now to go to school without having to rely on the government or student loan debt. Now look, I know the traditional 4-year degree is one thing, but there are other schools that you can go to, and this strategy will work no matter where you choose to go to school. Now, look, I'm one that believes that not everybody should go to college. Some careers are better learned in the field. Take what I do as an example. As a loan officer, the only degree that you can get on this job is experience. But there are some careers that require a degree, or even getting licensed just to get hired. So let's cover those 5 steps for everybody, even if you want to go to a trade school or a traditional college. All right, so step 1, research the cost of the school for the degree that you're aiming to go for. Now, most people miss this step, but this step is key to making a plan and being able to stick to it. All right, so let's take a sample scenario. Let's say that a high school kid wants to go to college to either be a vet tech or a veterinarian, but they're not sure which one. And just for illustration's sakes, this person happens to live in Arizona. What we find is that the average vet tech, the cost to attend the program is about $14,000 plus learning materials. That's gonna probably run your rate around $580 per year. Now, we know that our college cost to attend this college for the degree is just under 15 grand. And how we know that is because this is a 9-month program. Okay, so now let's check on the veterinarian job. The average cost to go to school to become a veterinarian in Arizona is $47,000 just for the tuition per year, but books are also going to run around $1,400 a year also. So the total cost is about $48,000 a year, or consider this. $48,000 a year times the 4 years of required school is $192,000. Now look, it's required before you attend this program that's going to cost you $192,000 that you also have a degree in undergrad studies, meaning that you're going to have to go to school for 4 years prior to taking the $192,000 course, and you're going to spend $30,000 per year for about 4 years, costing another 120 grand. So the total cost of schooling to become a veterinarian is $312,000. Getting into debt is really one of the worst things that you can do, especially unsecured government-backed debt. Now, we've all heard that credit card debt is one of the worst types of debt to get into. And the big reason for that is because it's unsecured. You know what they say, the borrower is a slave to the lender. And I don't want you to be a slave, and I'm sure you don't want to either. So that's why we're taking this education. Step number 2, you gotta research the salary range for your chosen profession. Now, you might ask,
Tim, how am I gonna find out what a veterinarian and a vet tech make without going and asking them?
well, there's a great place on the internet that you can go called salary.com. So if we go over to salary.com, what we'll find is that the median income for a vet tech is right around $36,690 per year. And when we look at veterinarians, they make a median income of somewhere around $99,250 per year. Okay, so now we have some numbers to compare, but we haven't made a decision. So let's start with the career number 1, which is the vet tech. And what we found is that the total cost to become a vet tech is around $15,000, and it takes 9 months. And guys, you got to keep in mind that time is something you have to figure out when you're totaling money, because time is money. So if this person only has a 9-month program and the other person has an 8-year program, this person has an advantage by about 7 years. 7 years worth of earnings while this person is going into debt. I hope that makes sense. So now let's analyze the veterinarian. The veterinarian total cost is $312,000 for all 8-year degree. Okay. Now let's analyze these. So a vet tech works for about a year, and they're going to have just enough money to have justified the cost of schooling. That's really not a bad deal. But if we look at the veterinarian, they're making about $100,000. So they're going to have to work for over 3 years to justify the cost of college. Now, another big thing to consider is lifestyle. Yeah, the vet is harder to become, and it does cost a ton more, but the income will be higher for the next 20 years if you choose this option. Or you might just want to help dogs and cats and think that vet tech is a better decision. Without doing this step, you'd likely make a decision that you'd regret in the future. So make sure that you take this step whenever you're looking at going to college. All right, so step number 3, we need to look for grants and scholarships. Almost every school is likely to have some kind of a grant program and probably scholarship program as well. Now, you might say,
But Tim, I heard that these grants and scholarships are only available for the traditional 4-year degree.
well, that's actually not true. See, I've done some research and I was able to find a few great sites that you can go to apply for grants and scholarships in just minutes. And every little bit of money counts at this phase. So make sure not to skip this step. Even if you're just able to find a scholarship for $1,500, maybe that's a 10% saving off of being a vet tech, which isn't going to cost you anything except sitting in front of a computer or a phone filling out applications. And don't just apply for one. Make sure that you apply for them all. That way you can maximize this strategy. I know people that have gone to college for free using this free strategy. All right, and I know this one is a tough one, but step number 4, hey, get a job that you can work around your school schedule. You see, there's a ton of jobs that you can do, like you could become a sandwich artist at Subway, or you could work as a server for a local restaurant that serves food while you're not in school. This can be a great way to earn, and you're going to learn. You see, not only are you going to learn a valuable education and work ethic, but you're also going to be learning while you're in school and paying for it yourself by working your way through. This is going to build the self-confidence that you're going to need in the world. Now, I remember when I was 19, I had a job working at a company called MCI World Cup selling long distance. Wait a minute. Cut. Okay, there's no way that anybody is going to know what long distance is. Let's go with the other one. Or let's just cut that part out. Yeah, let's do that. All right. I remember when I was 19 and I had a job working at MCI WorldCom. I was reading one of my friend's sociology books. They were actually in college at University of New Mexico. And sure enough, it posted that the average income for careers based on the educations. Well, at the time, the career that I had chosen would only have been paying me about $20,000 after a 4-year degree, which would have cost me $22,000 a year, totaling $88,000 for my education. Now look, I don't know why. I'm just a numbers guy, so I couldn't really be passionate about the career because I knew the value of making money since I'd not only had a job at McDonald's, but I'd also worked at a local restaurant when I was a kid bussing tables. All of this was not only experience, but I got paid while I was learning. Now, let me tell you a quick story. As a loan officer, I often run into these big builders, and they do hundreds of homes every year. In 2018, I met a builder, and he used to do 400 to 500 starts per year here in the state of Arizona. And you might be asking, Tim, what is a start? Well, before they actually build a house, the builder has to go and apply for a building permit from the county or the state. That permit is called a housing start. And when I was talking to him, I asked him how many housing starts he had in the past year. Now, keep in mind, he was averaging 400 to 500. In the past year, he only had 180 starts. And this is in 2018, before the pandemic and before we had the shortage of people. So could you imagine what that looks like now? Anyway, we were talking about the build time and it's becoming progressively longer, so I asked him very directly, why don't you just hire people? He looked right at me and said, and where am I going to get them? So I'm quite straightforward. And I asked him, what do builders make? And he told me, which this is going to shock you. He said, well, it's more than doctors, but you can't recruit them from high school. I thought to myself, well, shoot, if I was in high school and someone came to me and said I was going to make more than a doctor, but I just didn't have to go to school and go into debt, sounds like a good deal to me. He looked at me and said, like I haven't tried that before. Listen, these kids are sold a dream by colleges. As the kids are taking on this debt so that they can get a career that pays them less than some industries would give them if they just started in this industry right out of high school. But what they tend to do is go into these classes with air conditioning and take on loans so that they can pay for rent and go into debt. It's not great financial education, but that's exactly what happens. But the reality is, if the kids wanted to go out and get a job in the construction business, in about 15 years, they could become a builder making hundreds of thousands and maybe even $1 million a year. That's what the guy said he used to make whenever he was doing 400 to 500 starts. So keep that in mind. So that made me really rethink our education system. See, I didn't go to school. I wasn't allowed. I actually dropped out of high school, so they don't let high school dropouts go to college. All right, so step number 5. Now, it's time to make a decision since we've got all the numbers that we need to analyze. I'm a big believer that people don't make bad decisions on purpose. I think people don't wake up in the morning and think to themselves, okay, I'm really going to mess up my life or someone else's life today. I think that they make bad decisions based on bad information or lack of information. So now that we have this information that we need, we can make a great decision. All right, guys, well, just wanted to get you this information. I hope this is valuable. If so, consider liking, sharing, subscribing, and we'll catch you next time.